welcome back to the Gritty Hour. I have a very special on-location guest, Curtis Lewis from LaUL Gallery. How are you, Curtis?
Excellent.
You're the newest commercial enterprise in the village of Millbrook, New York.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, how long you been here now?
We're just getting up on about a month.
Yeah. Well, before we get into you and your store, what does LaUL Gallery mean? What does LaUL stand for?
Well, it's a concept idea, and it stands for live a unique life.
Live a unique life.
Which is where I am at this point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the last iteration of my business, and it's the full expression of what I want to do, how I want to express what I've been doing my entire life.
Good. Well, you have a beautiful store here, which we're going to give you either in the middle or the end of this podcast a preview of. And what's your address here?
That's a good question. 3284 Franklin Avenue. I don't
Okay.
even ask hard questions like that.
Well, you've been here less than a month, so.
You'll forgive me.
Well, welcome to the community.
Thank you.
It's a great place to do business.
Let me tell you, everybody's been really amazing. I have to say, I can't tell you the outreach so far. That's really been great. Very welcoming.
So you have a good resume of jewelry behind you. Tell us what you did before this.
What you're looking at is the culmination of almost 40 years of being in this business. And I've had many, again, iterations of this business, which did include other stores, but mostly what I did, I started my business doing events. That was always the core of my business. So that meant initially traveling, the state, which then became the country. So at the height, I was doing 30 events a year.
Specifically jewelry shows?
They were mainly jewelry. I mean, I started on actually doing arts and craft events with jewelry. I mean, I went to school for fine arts, studying actually studio art, painting, drawing, and stuff like that. But my father had gotten into the business for a bit, and I kind of saw how you can make money in this business. And so when I got out of college, I wasn't sure what I was going to do as an artist. And I saw jewelry as a better way to still be creative, and so went into that field.
And pay the rent.
And pay the rent. It was obviously, it was very popular. It was this growing industry at that time. It was a really strong growing industry. So that's what I pursued. And then after a few years of working for somebody, I kind of realized I really prefer working for myself. And so events were really an opportunity. And there were other designers that came before me, decades before me, that had started their businesses doing a lot of the arts and craft events, including someone like David Herman. So seeing that was a path that I could take, it was something that I pursued.
So you did 30 shows a year?
That came later, but yeah, I did. I always did a lot of shows. I mean, most of the shows I tried to keep close to home, my family and kids. And
so most of the shows were on the East Coast, at least?
Yeah, for the most part, early on, and really it wasn't only until maybe about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I started looking at the bigger country. One of the events that I picked up, which became my only event that I started, there was something called the Intergem Circuit. Free ad for that.
Intergem Circuit?
Yeah, and basically they were doing events all over the country, and they made it pretty easy. They would carry your showcases, your stuff, and put it at your next booth where you would end up setting up. So not having to travel with the things became kind of attractive. Plus, they brought you into pretty good cities. I mean, the range of places I would end up in consistently were always like sort of event centers outside major cities. So we'd be near Boston, in an area called Marlborough, or we'd be near San Francisco and San Mateo, and so forth. So that's it. I mean, I went from, I'll just say, Boston to Chicago, to San Francisco, to Houston, to Washington, D.C. That was kind of the circle.
That's a good thing you had somebody schlepping the stuff around. That's a lot of territory to cover.
There was still a lot of schlepping just going through the airports and everything else when you started to fly out. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do? One right after the other?
Pretty much. I mean, you're doing 30 events, so you have about two 2 on, 1 off, that kind of thing. That was pretty much the
So you know what it's like to be a rock star
You know what?
on tour.
Literally, if you look over there, you're going to see the crates that I use, and they are literally the crates built by the same company that built them for Aerosmith. So
Oh.
yeah. Those are
Aerosmith Forge?
hardcore. Yeah, those are hardcore
Okay.
shipping crates. Yeah.
Okay, right here in Millbrook? Aerosmith Forge?
No, no, Aerosmith the band.
Oh, Aerosmith,
Yeah,
okay.
they were built in actually. I guess that's their claim to fame. They built. I'm sure Aerosmith used a lot of different companies, but they were one of the companies that they
Okay.
hired at one point.
I hated them.
That's it.
So what kind of jewelry do you sell? I know you have estate jewelry, right? Do you make your own jewelry?
So that's it. Yeah, we started out. I started out designing and manufacturing and doing some of the jewelry work and bringing in artisans, and that was really how I started. But again, it got a lot easier to sort of buy things that I liked and saw other vendors doing. So we started to buy and sell, and then people would want to trade what they had for a new piece, and we would buy what they had. And I'm like, well, these are good pieces.
Mhm.
And then, really, to be frank, in 2008, you may remember what happened in 2008. You had the change in the economy, and it really became an economy to buy than to sell. And we got kind of lucky. The bank decided that was the time they were going to give me a pretty good line of credit with not much asking. So it really became an opportunity for me to really buy. So a big part of my business now became buying estates, because it's such great pieces. And what I actually found as my niche, to be frank, was buying a lot of pieces that were heading off to scrap. Things, amazing pieces, especially in the 80s and 90s. A lot of people don't realize gold was cheaper than in the 90s. Gold was cheaper than in the 80s. Very, very. When you looked at all the other things that were going up in price at that point, even house market and people's incomes, not to mention that the market itself was going bananas in the 90s into the early 2000s.
Yeah, the dot-com surge.
Gold was flat. There was no investment in gold. So it went really low. So the opportunity to build heavy pieces and not have to worry about the amount of gold, and you could sell, like, this is a heavy gold piece. There was so much great jewelry really made at that time. Plus the designers were kicking.
Mhm.
So you had, like, again, you had guys like David Yurman, Judith Ripka, like the second tier of design, not to mention the guys that came before that, which included like guys like David Webb, included
Barry Cord.
Barry Kisselstein Cord, who's in this town with us, which I did not know, but these people, they weren't worried about the heft of the pieces they were making, only the quality of what they were delivering. So there was so much amazing jewelry being made, and oddly enough, a lot of people don't understand the value of some of these things. Not to mention that the Italians and all these other manufacturers were making quality pieces. So that's kind of what I became really interested in purchasing. And what I ended up getting a reputation for was purchasing pieces that people didn't know the brand, they didn't know the designer, or they were selling what they thought was like just a genetic piece of gold, but I knew it was like this amazingly crafted piece. And I just made a big purchase of some incredible 18 karat gold pieces, a 22 karat gold bracelet that's thrown in the mix that I'll be wearing. I can just bring it over here. This is a great piece with a piece of lapis inside, completely handmade. You can get this made today, and it is made, but it comes with a hefty price tag. Basically, I could sell this as a gold item. And I mean, if you like it, you're getting a great piece of jewelry that's going to last for generations.
Yeah. Traditionally, and you can tell me if it still holds true today, the price of the intrinsic value, the price of gold essentially is transverse to how the stock market is doing. Because you mentioned that before, and I was going to ask you, do you think that's, usually when the market goes way up, the price of gold goes way down, and vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that what really drives the gold price is the investment world.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as we know, like investors, like Warren Buffett, who owns a lot of gold, physical gold, not to mention, gambling the gold, betting the margins, the moves. Um, so yeah, I mean, usually what happens, and look, I'm no expert on this. This is really outside my insights from being in this business. Is that when the stock market's not doing well, they'll usually look at the bond market. If they have any reason to fear that that's happening there, then they kind of look at the commodities market.
Yeah.
And they'll start to really, and it doesn't
Predominantly
take
gold,
much.
though, right?
Yeah, it doesn't take much, especially when you have literally so many billionaires on the planet. I hate to say it. You literally have, they can have a big influence on what happens with the gold price.
Right.
Really start to buy it.
Right. So you find, I know the market is still kind of high. Do you think buying gold is harder now for you?
It's right now. I think what's kind of happening for me personally is since a lot of it also when you're coming out to the same event, you're seeing the same people. So a lot of people went through their personal gold. So I have to split when I buy. When I buy, with also buying from what I call what are the smelters, the guys that are melting the gold. So that was my last purchase I was just talking about. And there's no shortage of gold being sold today as ever. So it still makes it tough as the amount of money you have to come up with. You gotta, and look, I would say that gold is still pretty popular right now, shockingly popular. But we're definitely not selling the volume we did because obviously the price point, but look, gold is, again, from the 90s, is literally more than 10 times
Right.
on average. So you can, at $2,400 gold, $2,300 gold, if you're talking about a margin business, even with less sales, you're making the same or more.
Right. So you picked Millbrook specifically for a reason?
Well, I mean, okay, so I moved into the area about 4 years ago, and we had a brother-in-law, my wife's brother that lived up here. We used to come up periodically. But what we were really looking for is my wife was working from home pre-pandemic, and we were just looking for a nice community we could afford to build, and at the time, that's changed.
Mm.
We all know that. That would be close to where our kids were. And so Dutchess County became attractive. And we found a place, somebody to build for us. And we built a home up here. And as we started to discover the towns, we discovered Millbrook. And it just became a place that we came up regularly. I think I've been to most of the restaurants at this point. My wife likes to shop at several of the clothing places, and we've even picked up some home stuff down
And
the block.
antique stores.
And antique stores. Yeah, absolutely. So always a favorite to visit. So yeah, we kept finding ourselves here. And then when I was signing up for your antique shop, I saw that this space came available, and we had discussed it. And I said, I think you may think I'm crazy, but I think I'm going to take the store and space in your center. But I knew you guys had such a history here. I know the first thing if you Google Millbrook, we discussed this before, you're one of the first things that comes up, Millbrook Antique Center. So I knew, okay, this is going to be an opportunity for people to at least get to see my jewelry. They don't want to come into the new store per se.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. It's easy. I just told right before we were recording, you had some nice, some customers that were visiting the town.
Yeah.
That sounded like they were from England. At least one of them had a.
Yeah, they're living here now, though.
Oh.
Yeah. They actually have a place. I think they said. I'm my.
Well.
But they're building a place near Rhinebeck.
Oh, okay. Because what I explained to them is it's an easy town to fall in love with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
And has the reception been so far?
I mean, it's been great. Everybody that's come in has been extremely warm,
Mm-hmm.
extremely engaging. Again, one of the reason why I picked this town was there was apparently a jeweler here that was
Joyce Heaton.
And so
she was actually in my shop at the time.
Okay, and so for for reasons, she wasn't doing as much, and so I felt like a town like this is a jeweler. It's still like we do the full servicing, and we know Glenn across the street is doing work for anybody that needs work done on the spot. but there's room for another jeweler, and for what we do. And so I felt like we weren't trying to take somebody else's, thunder. I felt like we could bring an asset and something new with that.
Yeah, and as jewelry stores go, it's pretty unique you have here, because one of the things I wanted to discuss was your artwork, which is here in addition, it's LaUL Gallery, right? Tell us a little about your artwork.
So, I mean, again, when I went to, back in the day when I went to school, I really studied fine art, and I did a math thing, so I had kind of a brain for both. Art was just a lot more fun. And, the school I went to was Stony Brook University, which actually had just a gigantic art department that nobody was really using. So as an art student, it was a great place to be creative and do things and whatever. But when I came out of school, I didn't really see the practicality of it, and I didn't really have, something I wanted to express. With everything that's going on in the world and in the country, when you're, when you have an artistic lean, let's put it that way, as I do, when you start to feel emotions dwelling up in you, you usually are looking for a way to deliver them. So I started to paint again, probably around 5 or 6 years ago. And once you start opening up that part of yourself, it starts to come out. So I was creating work, and I had joined a little gallery, like a community gallery, sold different pieces. So I saw there was definitely an interest in what I was doing. I had an interest in doing what I was doing. When I started to look at the jewelry that I was making, which has a kind of an organic feel, and you got the piece behind me that's got kind of a, its own organic.
Oh, we
nature.
strategically placed this camera.
Yeah. So, I just felt like it's all expressing the same thing, really, in a different way. I also play the music, I play the bass, and I do like bass vignettes, believe it or not. Who wants to hear it but me? But it's all the same thing. I mean, I can feel the same thing being expressed in slightly different forms. And so that also led into the concept. I mean, as I started thinking about having a store again, even when I was on the road, and like, what would life be not being on the road, which I'm 100% committed to this. We are no longer doing any events. And believe me, I get reached out by the promoter regularly to come back and do events. It's nothing personal, but I really did want to create a space where I could express myself in full, and feel that there's an audience for it. I mean, I don't think the work has definitely a seriousness and a substantiveness, but it's something you can have in your home. I think it will give character. I think it will help to express something. Art, basically, and jewelry helps you express yourself out to the world. That's how I see it. So that's why, again, live your unique life is the idea that what you surround yourself with, what you put on yourself, is going to express yourself as much as what you say it do.
Right. Well, obviously your store is predominantly jewelry, but how would you describe your art?
It's abstract and abstract expressionist. A lot of times it's going to get compared to people like Pollock. Although, I mean, I think my pieces are more rooted in nature. And occasionally I'll use something from nature, even the human form, as a way to, create an abstract image. So there will be figurative things. Again, in the thing, I can't do the backwards. There's the tree you could see, but if you look closer at it, it's really just made up of sketchy lines and just pure energy, which I think is what we all are. So we don't have to get too metaphysical here, but so that's what I'm trying to capture, more the essence of something than actually a pictorial representation of it.
Right. So we're going to wrap this section up, because I do want to do a walk around and show some actually individual pieces with some royalty-free music behind it.
Okay.
What would you say to a customer or somebody visiting Millbrook about your store?
Well, I would say, I've tried to make an extremely friendly place. I've jokingly said this before too. It's like I've taken the jewelry store, mixed it with the art gallery to give you the two most stuffy environments, the least, comfortable places to go into if you're, searching, if you're not looking for those things specifically. But I didn't want to build that kind of store. My store, I hope, is as friendly as your store to go into. It's got to be, I want you to feel comfortable in coming in just to walk around, because I kind of feel like because of the nature where jewelry's gone, especially on the high end, and the nature where art is, where it's, what do I know about art? Whatever you feel is what you know about it.
Right.
I mean,
Are you gonna sit here and play the bass one day, the full expression?
You know what? Don't threaten me, Tom. It may happen. I may come over there and play the bass.
I said I was gonna ask you one more question, but another one just popped into my head. I wanted to just discuss real briefly sterling. What's the nature of sterling silver and as a commodity and as jewelry?
I personally love sterling silver.
Mhm.
I really do. I especially now, it seems so undervalued.
Mhm.
It seems so low. And I guess the one reason why I don't know why it hasn't been picked up by really the investment world. Occasionally they do it. If there's a reason, maybe somebody else wants to interject or leave a comment or whatever. But it's because it's so low, and we had this happen before. One person, I forgot the family that got involved back in the 70s.
The Hunt brothers.
The Hunt brothers that bought so much of it, and it's easy to monopolize. And I think because of that, they created laws that you can't do that, which just kept it out of the investment world, which means that only jewelers are using it for the most part, or any other industry that uses it. So it just kept the price really low, but it will last forever. It does tarnish, but you can polish it back up. You can make it look beautiful. I happen to love the winter platinas. I just made a bunch of new pieces where I antiqued them and blackened them. I made them look old. So, I mean, I love that character. I love that it changes over time in a way. It can be difficult for jewelers to work with, because of the heat and other things and it burns and stuff like that. But once you get a finished piece, it's great. And it lets me be more creative with the jewelry and bring a price point. Yeah, you can spend $1,000 on a piece of jewelry easily in sterling silver, but you can also spend $20, $50. So it really, and you're going to have something that, in its essence, is not going to change for centuries.
Right.
So I love making pieces that I think can last on. Having said that, I've added a little bit of brass and some stainless steel, which also seems to have enduring value.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, price points on that can even get lower than silver. So I'm not, not afraid to try different metals, but silver you'll see there's a lot of silver in the store.
Right. Well, I appreciate your time today. Like I said, we're going to do a walk around of your store.
Okay.
And
I can't thank you enough for this.
oh, it's my pleasure. We have to welcome you to Millbrook.
You've been a real key part of that.
That's all right. We feel like it's a great addition to the town, and I'm sure you'll be well received. So thank you, Curtis, for joining us today. All right, as promised, we have Curtis back. I'm going to see how this audio works. If not, if you hear royalty-free music, you'll know the audio didn't come out well. But anyway, so thank you for doing our podcast.
My pleasure.
This will be on the tail end of it. I just do want to do a real quick walk around of your store,
Sure.
if I can, just to see some of the pieces you might have, and also some of the artwork you might have.
Okay.
All right. So, like, you segregate your store in a certain way?
I do. So, I mean, if you want, wherever you're pointing, I'll kind of just give you the brief of it all. I mean, in the center is pretty much the fine jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically looking at, I mean, this is a lot of traditional kind of things, the diamonds, which we do make right down to the tennis necklaces and stuff like that. So we do a lot of the traditional manufacturing as well.
Uh-huh.
There'll also be a lot of estate. I kind of just blend it in with, what I think are styles that kind of work together, because I think in those terms more than anything else.
Right.
So that's so you get the white gold over there.
Do you have any name jewelers here, or?
I don't get that much brand. Occasionally I will. I mean, there are things that will show up. I'll point out as I go along. Mm-hmm. Like this actually is John Hardy, which he's known for the silver, but he also does some gold. Mm-hmm.
That long necklace there?
Yeah, the long necklace.
Okay.
And then you got a Heskia piece. They're a family out on Long Island that manufacture it. The Diamond family in Israel and so forth. So there are things like that, and you'll see that there's a few things. Uh-huh. We have a piece like you got David Yerman, the little band over there. as we mentioned. And then you have, this is an Anthony Weiner piece, which is an unusual piece. He's in New York.
Weiner.
Yeah.
That
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's good. Good, thank you. But Weiner's the last name. I can't think of the first name. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But he...
As I have so many jokes to say, but I won't.
Please don't.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, that guy, he's up and coming. You really want to start collecting him.
Is this all your design?
Yeah,
Sweet.
that's all mine. So
They're really nice.
Yeah, and the hammer obviously is going to be reminiscent of what you can see in the abstract, I think. But yeah,
it actually fits some of your art pieces, which we're going to show in a second.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, what you got over here? Some sterling.
So this is sterling. These cases are again either things that we're literally making in New York. Or they're things I do work with overseas manufacturing.
Do you have a dedicated designer down in New York?
I work with artisans, so I typically the jobbing, what they call it, with vendors and people. So no, I mean I cast with a caster. I have my jeweler do a lot of my jewelry work down there that I work with. A little team of people. I have setters that's just set. I have down to hand engravers and enamelers. I have a whole team of people I just can call on when I need them.
Cool. No, I just want to. Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, and we do also work with overseas vendors as well. We have a couple. Most notably, we have a company we work with in China, but we also do Thailand. We do a little bit in India as well. So you'll see things that are my designs, but and we'll let you know where it's made.
Yeah, you fully disclose the customer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We want people to be aware.
And I just wanted to see, because we're coming up to that piece during the podcast that was in the behind your head.
Right.
Yeah.
So right now this doesn't have a title.
This is the tree.
Well, no. When was the tree? This one. That's our.
Oh, I see.
So that's much more reminiscent.
I can't look at this now without thinking of a tree. Thanks
well, that's
to you.
okay.
It's all subliminal,
That's right. It's funny you should say that, Tom. I do think that's important. I try not to get. I'll let people know, like maybe.
What is this, charcoal?
No, that's actually just. I like to work with markers. So that's just markers with on art paper.
It's an interesting matting.
That was really just like that comes right out of my sketchbook. If I think it's a finished piece, I'll pull
I see.
it.
Okay.
So I actually left it because I kind of liked what was happening.
With the perforations on the bottom. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
What about these vases?
They're actually from one of my Indian vendors who actually, believe it or not, they're made in China, but they're coming out of India. But they're just cool.
Yeah,
I forget what they call that technique. I just liked them, and they just gave another character to the store.
Yeah, they do.
I'm looking for local potters.
I can introduce you to one.
Yeah.
It works in the Millbrook school.
If it
Teaches pottery in the Millbrook school.
Yeah. I'm happy to show their work for sure, and then try to sell it.
I will connect you with someone you know already.
Okay.
That works with you.
Okay, great.
I'll connect you to him through her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So what are these pieces here?
So we have either new Italian pieces, you got chain and stuff like that, and then you have a lot of estate in there too. So that's this is a gold. Obviously, these are like more traditional uses and purposes. The initials I make, they're very popular and just an easy wear. And I'll make the diamond initials too that you see up here. But that's what you're seeing. So again, every case has a little bit of me in it, and then just it's mostly a collection of things that work together.
Has some rings.
This is a lot of wedding stuff. More wedding oriented. So you got my wedding bands.
I can actually look at this without glare, I think, which is good.
Yeah. Good point. We are working on better lighting, so we'll get better lighting.
No, the lighting is good for the camera anyway.
So again, you do have a mix of estate in here. I don't separate, so if you're looking for a diamond wedding band, but I will, like if something has to be custom made, I'll show you from like these are all things I've made. So
these rings here?
Yeah. So we can make any size in those. We can do any scales, different things. You have a fun piece there. That was made with marquise. You see that piece? I don't know if you can get that in there, but it's the middle ring on the bottom.
Right. I know
there were stones lying around that I just kind of put together.
I see.
And so we could do that for other people too.
I know if it doesn't fit quite right, we do have a jewelry repair person in our shop. You can send him over, or him come over here. And
Yep, absolutely.
Same day service, actually.
That's the best.
This is the sign that you want to look for when you come into Millbrook. LaUL Gallery, Fine Art and Jewelry. And let's take the last leg of your tour here.
Okay.
Here's some sterling pieces, right?
So in here, you're going to get a lot of because I personally dabble with so many looks. You'll see some of my stuff in here.
You personally dabble with what?
So many looks. Like
Okay.
I do the antique look. I do, but in here you're going to see a lot of what I call the Far East. So you're seeing Indonesia, you're seeing India, you're seeing Thailand, and a little bit of China. So a lot of antique finishes, which is that blackening effect. It kind of gives a sort of a more antique look. If I do have some designers that I'm carrying, they could be found anywhere, but you'll see them sometimes in these showcases too. So
Okay.
this is a pretty cool piece. This little Roman,
The
column
earring?
piece.
Am I looking at the earrings or the necklace?
No, the necklace, the
Okay.
column piece.
Oh yeah, very nice.
That's a fun piece that we made, and it's been selling now over a decade. I've had that piece, but it's really doing well.
All right. And some, like I say, someone wants a ring, doesn't quite fit, we can have it same day.
Yeah.
Our
Glenn.
jeweler, Glenn, is here on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays right now, so.
Yeah. Glenn works with silver, gold, high carats.
All sorts of carats. He's a crackerjack. Don't tell him I said so.
Yeah.
I don't want him to get a big head, you know?
Yeah. So great. It's great that we have a jeweler we can count on.
Absolutely, he's a very good guy. Oh, here's the motorcycle crew.
Yeah, you got a little bit more of a men's collection here for sure.
Very nice. Well, this was a nice added bonus to our sit-down chat. I'm glad I was able to walk around with the handheld camera. There's some more of your artwork.
These two pieces, I'll just end with this. They're original drawings. They're pencil drawings. Get a lot of attention, but nobody's picked them up yet, so they are for sale. And
By the time this airs, those will be gone.
Yeah. So that's one thing I have to do. I mean, people don't realize that art is for sale. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we snuck in a whole podcast without a customer coming in, so now that we can go and let the customers come in.
Okay.
So welcome again to the neighborhood, Curtis. It's been a great pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you.
This is the store. You have a lot to see when you come in. And thank you, folks.